Good morning. Today we will start with heat conduction equation. Cylindrical coordinates. The general heat conduction equation in cylindrical coordinates can be obtained from energy balance on a volume element in cylindrical coordinates. So this is your phi. This is your d phi. This height is z and the height of this element is dz. The radius inner side is r, and in the radial direction this is your dr, this side. It can be also obtained from this equation. You have to replace x, y and z with these new values in terms of r, radius, where x is, this is your x, you can see here, this element is your r, so this component is your cos phi component of the x, so x is equal to r cos phi, while y is your r sin phi and z is same as in the previous case. So by replacing this x, y and z in this equation, which is general heat conduction equation for rectangular coordinates, so this is your equation in cylindrical coordinates. After solving spherical coordinates, the general heat conduction equation in spherical coordinates can be obtained from energy balance on a volume element in spherical coordinates. So this is your differential volume element in spherical coordinates. So this angle is phi, this is your d phi. So this angle is theta, which is with the z axis, where phi is the angle of projection of this element in the xy plane, and this projection made an angle of phi with the x axis. R is the radius and dr is the element length in the radial direction. So the solution for this equation can be obtained by replacing x, y and z with these values. X is equal to r cos phi sin theta. This r is making an angle of theta with z axis. So if you take the projection of r on this xy plane, which is r sin theta, and for that r sin theta you have to take this component, which is r sin theta into cos phi. So x is equal to r cos phi sin theta, where this y component is your r sin theta into sin phi, because this y component is your sine component of this length, where this z is your r cos theta. So it is z is equal to r cos theta. So you will get this equation for spherical coordinates by placing this x, y and z in the above equation. This equation, which is for rectangular coordinate system, boundary and initial conditions, the heat conduction equations above were developed using energy balance on a differential element inside the medium, and they remain the same regardless of thermal conditions on the surface of the medium. That is, the differential equation do not incorporate any information related to the conditions on the surface, such as the surface temperature or a specified heat flux. Yet we know that the heat flux and the temperature distribution in a medium depend on the conditions at surface, and the description of a heat transfer problem in a medium is not complete without a full description of the thermal conditions at the bounding surface of the medium. The mathematical expression of thermal conditions at boundaries are called boundary conditions. So this is your differential equation, which is second derivative of temperature with respect to x. From mathematical point of view, solving a differential equation is essentially a process of removing derivative or integration. After two integration, you will get two constants, C1 and C2. C1 for first integration and C2 for second integration. These two are arbitrary constants. Means you can place C1 and C2 in this way. It can be 2 or 5. It can be -1 or 12. It can be 0 or -3. It can be only C1, which is 6.2. So there are number of solutions which can fit for this equation, but according to the problem there must be only one solution. But since the differential equation has no place for additional information or coordinations, we need to supply them separately in the form of boundary or initial conditions. So consider the variation of temperature along the wall of a brick house in winter. So this is a wall. The temperature at any point in the wall depends on other things, the conditions at the two surface, which is this surface and this surface. The temperature may be 50 or 50 degrees Celsius, or temperature may be 0 here and 0 here, or it may be constant throughout the wall, or here temperature is less, here temperature may be more. So there are different conditions. So that is the temperature distribution in a medium depends on the condition at boundaries of the medium as well as heat transfer mechanism inside the medium. To describe a heat transfer problem completely, two boundary conditions must be given for each direction of coordinate system along which heat transfer is significant. So this is x coordinate, it means it is a one-dimensional heat transfer. So for this we need two equations to solve it, which is C1, which is C2. This is the length in the x direction. So here boundary condition is that temperature at 0 length means that inner side of this wall is 50 degrees Celsius, and the second boundary condition is the temperature at the outer here where length is L is equal to 50 degrees Celsius. So these two conditions are necessary to solve this equation. We need 4 boundary conditions for 2-dimensional problems and 6 boundary conditions for 3-dimensional problems. If you consider the wall, the temperature at any point on the wall at a specified time also depends on the condition of the wall at the beginning of heat conduction process. Such a condition, which is usually specified at time t is equal to 0, is called initial condition, which is mathematically expression for the temperature distribution of the medium initially. Note that we need only one initial condition for a heat conduction problem, regardless of the dimension, since the conduction equation is first order in time. So in case of large plane wall, this here, the derivative of time is only 1 degree. So we need only one equation at time t is equal to 0. So if differential equation having two derivative means 2 degree derivative, you need two boundary conditions. But in this case, the first derivative of temperature with respect to time is involved. So we need only one initial condition. In rectangular coordinate, the initial condition can be specified in general form as this, where this function represents the temperature distribution throughout the medium at time t is equal to 0. When the medium is initially at a uniform temperature of Ti, the initial condition, this equation can be expressed as this is equal to Ti. For steady state heat equation, you can see there is no derivative with respect to time. Thus, we do not need to specify an initial condition. As we had discussed, the heat conduction equation is first order in time, and thus the initial condition cannot involve any derivative. It is limited to specified temperature. However, the heat conduction equation is second order in space coordinates, and thus a boundary condition may involve first derivative at the boundaries as well as specified values of temperature. You can see in this case your boundary condition is in the form of derivative. Specified temperature boundary condition, you can see this example here. A wall with thickness L in x direction, where Tx, T is your boundary condition. On this side temperature is 150 On this side temperature is 70 degrees Celsius. The temperature of an exposed surface can be usually measured directly with the help of thermometer or with the help of any device. You can measure it. Therefore, one of the easiest way to specify thermal condition on a surface is to specify the temperature, which is T at this side 0 at time T. Initial condition at the start of the heat transfer is 150 degrees Celsius, and T here at L is 70 degrees Celsius. So this is your T1, this is your T2. T1 and T2 are specified temperature at surface x is equal to 0 and x is equal to L. Specified heat flux boundary condition. When there is a sufficient information about energy interaction at a surface, this surface or this surface, it may be possible to determine the rate of heat transfer and thus the heat flux Q dot, which is watt per meter square, which is given by Fourier law. The heat flux in the positive x direction anywhere in the medium, including the boundaries, can be expressed by this. So then the boundary condition at a boundary is obtained by setting the specified heat flux equal to, that is minus K del T by del X at the boundary. So at this place you can place temperature with the boundary, that is T 0 comma T, and for this boundary here, which is heat flux going from this boundary to the atmosphere, you can place this temperature here with the boundary condition TL comma T. Now this is heat flux at L, this is heat flux at Q naught. So these two are the boundary conditions. Suppose for a plate of thickness L subjected to a heat flux of 50 watt meter square into the medium from both sides, from this side as well as this side, the specified heat flux boundary conditions can in this case be, so this minus K del T 0 comma T del X is equal to, say this is minus 50 watt per meter square, and at this place it is also minus 50 watt meter square. Here in this case the negative sign, because we had chosen the heat flux from outside to the wall from both sides, so that's why here it is negative. Insulated boundary, suppose in this case we insulate the boundary, then your condition will become this case, this side is insulated, so insulation will make the difference by eliminating the heat flux. Now on this wall the heat flux will be 0, which is here. In the previous case it is 50, now in this case it is equal to 0. So this will also act as a boundary condition if the wall is insulated. Therefore a well insulated surface can be modeled as a surface with a specified heat flux of 0. On an insulated surface, the first derivative of temperature with respect to the space variable in the direction normal to the insulated surface is 0. This also means that the temperature function must be perpendicular to an insulated surface, since the slope of temperature at the surface must be 0, which is equal to this condition of 0 slope. Thermal symmetry. Some heat transfer problem possess thermal symmetry as a result of symmetry in imposed thermal conditions. For example, the two surfaces of a large hot plate of thickness L is suspended vertically in air will be subjected to same initial conditions, thermal conditions, and thus the temperature distribution in one half of the plate will be same as that another half. That is, heat transfer problem in this plate will be possess thermal symmetry about the central plane at x is equal to L by 2. Also the direction of heat flow at any point in the plate will be toward the surface closer to the point, and there will be no heat flow across the center plane. Therefore central plane can be viewed as an insulated surface, and the thermal condition at the plane of symmetry can be expressed by del T by del X at this L by 2 at time T is equal to 0. So as you can see, this condition resembles the Condition in case of insulation. Convection boundary condition. Convection is probably the most common boundary condition encountered in practice, since most heat transfer surfaces are exposed to an environment at a specified temperature. The convection boundary condition is based on surface energy balance as expressed as heat conduction at the surface in a selected direction is equal to heat convection at the surface in the same direction. So here convection and conduction, these two are equal because this is surface won't store any energy. So whatever the heat transfer by convection must be equal to heat transfer by conduction. So if convection coefficient on this side is H1, air temperature is T infinity 1, and this is your temperature at this boundary, that is T0, T. So this is the equation here, minus K del T by del X, T0, T is equal to H1 T infinity, which is air temperature, minus T0, T. The air temperature must be higher, then your heat will transfer from air to the wall. So T infinity is higher. In these two equations, for convection boundary condition, we have selected the direction of heat transfer to be the positive x direction at both surface, but those expressions are equally applicable when heat transfer is in opposite direction at one or both surface. Since reversing the direction of heat transfer at a surface simply reverse the signs of both conduction and convection terms at the surface. Here you had reversed the direction of convection and conduction, so it will reverse the sign. This is equivalent to multiply an equation by -1 which has no effect on equality. Being able to select either direction as the direction of heat transfer is certainly a relief, since often we do not know the surface temperature and thus the direction of heat transfer at a surface in advance. Because we don't know which surface has higher temperature, the higher temperature will decide the direction of flow of heat. This argument is also valid for other boundary conditions such as the radiation and combined boundary conditions discussed. Radiation boundary condition, in some cases such as those encountered in space and cryogenic application, a heat transfer surface is surrounded by an vacuated surface and thus there is no convection heat transfer between its surface and the surrounding medium because there is no medium. In such case, radiation becomes the only mechanism of heat transfer between the surface during consideration and surrounding. So using energy balance, heat conduction at the surface in a selected direction is equal to radiation exchange at the surface in the same direction. So you can see in the absence of air, there is no convection. So radiation will come and the same amount of heat will be transferred through the conduction from this wall. So this is one-dimensional heat transfer in the x direction, which is minus K del T 0, T by del X is equal to this radiation, where emissivity is E1 at the boundary surface as sigma is your Stefan-Boltzmann constant, and the same for this is for second boundary. You can see radiation boundary condition involve the fourth power of temperature and thus it is non-linear condition. So it is better to avoid such kind of boundary conditions. Interface boundary condition. Some bodies are made up of layers of different material, say A material, B material, and solution for a heat transfer problem in such a medium requires the solution of heat transfer problem in each layer. So this in turn requires the specification of boundary condition at each interface. This is your interface. The boundary condition at an interface are based on requirement that the two bodies in contact here must have the same temperature at the area of contact. Means TA x0, T is equal to TB x0, T, where x0 is the, you can say, contact where two surfaces meet each other. So this is your first boundary condition, that at contact point temperature is same. And second boundary condition is the amount of heat transfer from this surface must be equal to the amount of heat transfer from this surface. Consider a large plain wall of thickness L, 0.2 meter, thermoconductivity is 1.2 watt per meter degree Celsius, and surface area is 15 meter square. The two sides of wall are maintain a temperature of 120 degrees Celsius and 50 degrees Celsius respectively. Determine the variation of temperature within the wall and value of temperature at x is equal to 0.1 meter. Means at the midpoint you have to find the value of temperature, the rate of heat conduction through the wall under steady conditions. So heat conduction is steady, it is one dimensional, there is no heat generation. So our equation differential becomes d square t by dx square is equal to 0. When you integrate, you will get this equation, and when you further integrate, you will get this equation. Tx is equal to c1x plus c2. T0 is equal to T1 is equal to 120 degrees Celsius. TL is equal to T2 is equal to 50 degrees Celsius. So use this equation that T0 is equal to 120. When you put 0 here, you will get C2, which will is equal to T1. This you will get. Now put this equation, TL is equal to 50. Here in this equation, instead of x you can put L, and then it will become equal to 50. So at x you can put L. So you will get T2 in terms of C1L and T1. From here you will get value of C1, which is T2 minus T1 by L, and you had C2 and CL. Now you can, in this equation you will get this equation. You have to find the temperature at x is equal to 0.1. We have the variation of temperature within the wall as a function of x and T1, T2, which is this equation. Now here put x is equal to 0.1, temperature is equal to 50 minus 120 divided by 0.2 into 0.1 plus 120, which will become 85 degrees Celsius, which is that x is equal to 0.1. The rate of heat reduction anywhere in the wall is determined from the Fourier's law for one-dimensional heat transfer, that is Q wall is equal to minus K dt by dx. Put the values of dt by dx, which is, from this equation we know dt by dx is equal to C1, which is here C1 is equal to T2 minus T1 by L. Put the value of C1 here, you will get this equation, and after putting temperature you will get this answer, that is heat transfer. Heat reduction is base plate of an iron. Consider the base plate of a 1200 watt household iron that has a thickness of 0.5 centimeter with area is equal to 300 centimeter square and thermoconductivity is 0.15 watt per meter degree Celsius. The inner surface of base plate is subjected to uniform heat flux by the heater, and the outer surface loses heat to the surrounding temperature, which is 20 degrees Celsius. Considering the air side heat transfer coefficient 80 watt per meter square and discard the heat loss by radiation, obtain expression for the variation of temperature in the base plate and evaluate the temperature at the interface and outer surface. So this is your base plate of the press. Heat flux is subjected from one side, so there is conduction within the base plate, and on another interface between air and the plate there is also convection. So these boundary conditions are applied here. So we have to find heat flux first. Area is given, the power output of press is 1200 watt, so this is your heat flux, that is Q naught. So this is one dimensional heat transfer problem in x direction. So we will use this differential equation here. You can also see this is the equation here, and this is equal to Q naught. Q naught is 40,000. So this equation will come this, and on this side we have this equation. After 2 times integration you will get this, and this is the general solution for equation. You have to find C1 and C2. So dt by dx is equal to C1. So replace this value in this equation. You will get minus K C1 is equal to Q naught. C1 is equal to minus Q naught by K. Now take this second equation. So in this equation instead of x you can put L. Same here, instead of x you can put L. So this equation here dt by dx will become C1, and this instead of TL you can place this value C1L and C2. On rearranging you will get C2 is equal to this. Put this value of C2 and C1 in this equation you will get this equation. Now T infinity is known, Q is known, that is heat flux, L is known, that is length of the plate. To measure the temperature on this side of plate, put x is equal to 0, and on this side of plate, put x is equal to L. So T naught is equal to 533 degrees Celsius and TL is equal to 520 degrees Celsius. Heat generation in a solid. So many practical heat transfer applications involve the conversion of some form of energy into thermal energy in the medium. Such medium are said to involve internal heat generation, which manifests itself as a rise in temperature throughout the medium. Some examples of heat generator are resistor heating in wires, exothermal chemical reaction, and nuclear reaction in the nuclear fuel rods, where electrical, chemical, nuclear energies are converted to heat. Heat generation is usually expressed per unit volume of the medium and is denoted by G dot, whose unit is watt per meter cube. For example, heat generation in electrical wire of outer radius R0 and length L can be expressed as, so heat generation is equal to I square Re, that is the heat generated, divided by pi R0 square L, because it is cylindrical. So this is your heat generation per unit volume. So say this is a sphere. The temperature of the medium rises during heat generation as a result of absorption of the generated heat by the medium during transient startup period. As the temperature of the medium increases, so does the heat transfer from the medium to the surrounding. This continues until steady operating conditions are reached and the rate of heat transfer equals to the rate of heat transfer to the surrounding. So in this case, the rate of heat transfer from the solid is equal to rate of energy generation within the solid during steady state conditions, and the maximum temperature within the sphere is at farthest from this surface. The maximum temperature occurs at the midpoint in a plane wall, at a center line in a long cylinder, and at a midpoint in the sphere, which is at the center of the sphere. So this is your heat generation, and it must be equal to the convection heat transfer, which in this case is H into area of the object, which is AS surface, into T surface temperature minus environment temperature. So if you solve this equation here, put the value here, you will solve it, you will get the surface temperature here. So AS is the surface area. In case of plane wall, it is 2 into area of a single wall, because heat loss is from the both sides of the wall, so we have to consider the area of both sides of wall. In case of a long cylinder, this AS is equal to 2 pi R0 L and volume is pi R0 square L, and same for the solid sphere. Put the values of AS and VS, you can say volume of that particular object, you will get this temperature distribution, or you can say temperature surface of plane wall, cylinder and sphere. Now reconsider heat transfer from a long cylinder with heat generation. We mentioned above that under steady conditions, the entire heat generated within the medium is conducted through the outer surface of the cylinder. Now consider an imaginary inner cylinder of radius R within the cylinder. Again, the heat generated within this cylinder, inner cylinder, must be equal to heat conducted through the outer surface of this inner cylinder. That is from Fourier's law of conduction, K AR dt by dr is equal to G dot VR. Substituting area of this cylinder and volume of cylinder, you will get this equation. On integration, integrating R equal to 0, where T naught, T0 is equal to T naught and R is equal to R naught, T R naught is equal to Ts, yields. Here T naught is the centerline temperature of the cylinder, which is the maximum temperature, and del T max is the difference between the centerline and the surface temperature of the cylinder. So you will get this equation here. So you can find this temperature T naught here, which is the temperature at centerline. This approach can be used to find the maximum temperature in case of heat generation in the wall. Means you can find this temperature T naught, which is the maximum. Like this video, subscribe this channel, and thank you for watching.